The mind is the limit. As long as the mind can envision the fact that you can do something, you can do it, as long as you really believe 100%. Arnold said that. Not as motivation, as observation. Because here's what most people miss about confidence. It's not something you find, it's something you build, brick by brick, rep by rep, decision by decision. And the person who understood this better than almost anyone alive did it in 3 different fields where everyone told him he had no chance. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't wait to feel ready. At 15 years old, he was training 6 days a week, 2 hours minimum in a freezing gym in Austria with no heat, while his peers were at parties. At 20, he moved to America speaking almost no English. At 30, he walked into Hollywood executives' offices and told them he'd be the biggest star in the world. With an accent they said would end his career, a body they said was too big, and a last name no one could pronounce. The gap between who you are and who you want to become, that's not closed by hopping. It's closed by repetition in the dark, by doing the thing before you believe you can, by making the decision that scares you, and then making it again tomorrow. This audiobook isn't about Arnold's life. It's about the operating system running inside his head. The mental frameworks he used to turn a farm kid from Thal into the most dominant bodybuilder in history, then a global movie icon, then the governor of California. And here's the part that changes everything. Those frameworks aren't special because Arnold used them. They're special because they work, for anyone willing to stop negotiating with discomfort. So let me ask you something. How many decisions are you delaying right now because you're waiting to feel confident first? That's the trap. Arnold built confidence by acting without it, by choosing the hard thing when the easy thing was right there, by training when no one believed, by speaking broken English on camera, by running for office when the entire establishment laughed. And every single time, the action came first. The belief followed. If you're listening to this, you already know something's missing. You can feel the gap between the person you are in your head and the one you see in the mirror. This audiobook will show you how to close it. Not someday, starting now. Chapter 1. Stop waiting for permission Arnold didn't ask, he announced. There's a moment most people never recover from. It's not a failure, not a rejection, not even a loss. It's the moment they decided to wait. Wait for permission, wait for readiness, wait for the right time that never comes. Arnold Schwarzenegger understood something at 20 years old that most people never figure out their entire lives. You don't earn the right to declare something. You declare it, and then you earn it. Arnold walks into Joe Weider's office in California, 20 years old, barely speaks English, just one Mr. Universe in London, but in America, he's nobody. And he tells Weider, doesn't ask, doesn't hope, doesn't suggest. He tells him he'll be Mr. Olympia within 3 years. Not I think I can, not I hope to someday. Within 3 years as fact. Weider later said Arnold spoke with a certainty that made you forget he had no evidence, no proof, no American training base, no network, no sponsors lined up. Just a declaration that sounded insane until it wasn't. 3 years later, 1970, Arnold Schwarzenegger wins his first Mr. Olympia title at 23 years old. He didn't wait to feel ready. He claimed the outcome first, then built the bridge to it. And here's what most people miss about that moment. The declaration wasn't motivational. It wasn't confidence. It was a decision to operate from the end result backward. See, most people build their lives from where they are toward where they want to go. Cautious steps, testing the water, waiting for evidence before committing. Arnold did the opposite. He saw himself as Mr. Olympia first. Then he reverse-engineered what that person would do today, right now, this morning. That person trains 6 days a week, 2 sessions a day, no exceptions. That person doesn't skip because he's tired. That person doesn't negotiate with discomfort. So Arnold didn't either. He didn't wait to become that person. He started acting like that person immediately and let his identity catch up. Think about how you're living right now. How many decisions are you delaying because you don't feel ready yet? How many moves are you not making because you're waiting for permission from someone who's never going to give it? How many opportunities are you watching pass by because you're building evidence first instead of committing first? Arnold's framework flips that entire script. You don't wait until you're confident to act. You act, and confidence follows. You don't earn permission, you take it. And you don't build towards certainty, you operate from it. Even when you have no proof. Especially when you have no proof. Because here's the trap most people live in their whole lives. They think doubt is a stop signal. It's not. Doubt is just data. Arnold had doubt. Of course he did. Moving to America with broken English, walking into auditions where they laughed at his accent, his body, his last name that no one could pronounce. He heard all of it. Agents told him he'd never make it in Hollywood. Too big, too foreign, too weird. He registered the information and ignored it. Not because he was delusional, because he understood something most people refuse to accept. Doubt doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're in unfamiliar territory. And unfamiliar territory is the only place growth happens. So when Arnold announced he'd be the biggest movie star in the world, while filming Conan the Barbarian, his first major role, still struggling with English, people thought he was insane. He treated their skepticism the way he treated muscle failure in the gym. Proof he was in the right zone. Because comfort doesn't build anything. Certainty doesn't build anything. Discomfort builds everything. The decision to move forward despite doubt, despite ridicule, despite no evidence yet. That's the gap between people who transform their lives and people who stay exactly where they are. And it happens in a single moment. The moment you stop asking and start announcing. Let me ask you something. What would you declare today if other people's opinions didn't matter? Not hope for, not work towards someday. What would you state as non-negotiable fact if you operated the way Arnold operated? Think about that for a second. Because the difference between where you are and where you want to be isn't skill. It's not talent. It's not even opportunity. It's the willingness to commit to the outcome before you have proof it's possible. Most people reverse engineer failure. They look at their current circumstances, their current limitations, their current resources, and they build a future that fits inside those boundaries. Arnold reverse engineered success. He looked at the end result first. Mr. Olympia, movie star, governor of California. Then he asked, what does that person do today? And he did that. Every single day. No negotiation. Arnold's already won Mr. Olympia 6 times. He's retired from bodybuilding. He's pivoting to acting full-time. He's taking English classes 4 hours a day, accent reduction, diction, pronunciation. People ask him why. You're already famous. You've already made it in bodybuilding. His answer, I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder who acts. I'm going to be the biggest action star in the world. Same framework. Declare first, build second. Commit before certainty. And here's the part that changes everything. That declaration wasn't just words. It was a contract with himself. Because once you announce something out loud to other people in a way that makes you uncomfortable, you've created accountability that internal goals never generate. You've made it real. You've made it public. You've made backing out more painful than following through. Arnold used that pressure deliberately. He'd tell reporters his plans before he had a path. He'd announce his next goal while people were still doubting his last one. He manufactured urgency through public commitment. And it worked every single time. Because here's what no one tells you about confidence. It's not something you find. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build, one uncomfortable decision at a time. Arnold didn't feel confident walking into Hollywood executives' offices. He just acted like he did. He didn't feel confident announcing he'd run for governor. He just did it anyway. And every time he followed through, every time he did the thing that scared him despite having no proof it would work, he built evidence for himself. Not for other people, for himself. That's the real game. You're not trying to convince anyone else. You're building trust with yourself. And you build that trust the same way Arnold did. By making a promise, then keeping it. By declaring something uncomfortable, then doing it. By choosing the harder path when the easier one is right there. Over and over and over. Until the person you're becoming is undeniable. So let me bring this back to you. Right now, today. What's the decision you've been delaying? The conversation you've been avoiding? The project you've been researching instead of starting? The move you've been planning instead of making? What would change if you stopped waiting for permission? What would you do this week if you operated from the outcome backward, the way Arnold did? If you saw yourself as already there and just acted accordingly? Not someday, not when you're ready. Now. Because here's the truth Arnold built his entire life on. Permission is a myth. No one gave Arnold permission to move to America at 20. No one gave him permission to pursue acting with an unpronounceable last name and a body Hollywood said was too big. No one gave him permission to run for governor as a foreign-born action star with no political experience. He didn't wait for consensus. He just moved. And the world adjusted. That's how it works. You don't wait for the path to clear. You clear it by walking. You don't wait for approval. You act, and approval becomes irrelevant. You don't build confidence by preparing. You build it by doing the thing before you're ready. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, people will doubt you. Yeah, you might look stupid. Arnold looked stupid plenty of times, bombing in comedy roles, losing elections, making movies that flopped. He kept moving. Because failure is temporary, inaction is permanent. Embarrassment fades, regret doesn't. And the cost of waiting, the cost of needing permission, needing certainty, needing proof before you commit, that cost is your entire life. Spent building a smaller version of what you actually wanted. Because you were too afraid to declare it. So here's your choice. You can close this chapter and go back to waiting for readiness, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. Or you can do what Arnold did. Decide what you actually want, say it out loud, make it public if you have to. Then act like the person who already has it. Not tomorrow, today. What does that person do this morning? Do that. What does that person prioritize? Prioritize that. What does that person refuse to negotiate with? Stop negotiating. You don't need permission. You need a decision. And the only person who can make it is you. Arnold made that decision at 15, at 20, at 30, at 50. Same choice, different levels, same refusal to wait. Your turn. Stop asking, start announcing. And let the discomfort of that commitment fuel everything that comes next. Because that's where the next chapter begins. Not in comfort, not in certainty. In the decision to move before you're ready. That's the only place transformation happens. Chapter 2. Your comfort zone is a slow death, train like no one's watching. Arnold Schwarzenegger said something once that most people hear, but never actually understand. The worst thing I can be is the same as everybody else. Not the scariest thing, not the hardest thing, the worst thing. Think about that for a second. Most people spend their entire lives trying to fit in, trying to be normal, trying to avoid standing out in ways that make them uncomfortable. Arnold looked at that instinct and treated it like poison, because he understood something most people refuse to accept. Comfort is a trap. Not rest, not recovery, not strategic patience. Comfort. The place where you stop doing things that scare you, where you stop seeking out what's hard, where you convince yourself that what you're doing now is enough. It's not. And Arnold knew it at 15 years old. Thal, Austria, 1962, middle of winter. Arnold's training in a gym with no heat, freezing, alone most of the time. The other guys his age, they're at parties, they're staying warm, they're doing what normal 15-year-olds do. Arnold's doing 2-hour sessions, 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day. Not because he loves it, because it's hard. Because hard is the only signal that matters. See, Arnold had this philosophy he called shocking the muscle. You don't grow by doing what you did yesterday. You grow by forcing your body into territory it's never been. More weight, more reps, different angles, shorter rest. You make it uncomfortable, and that discomfort is the growth. But here's what most people miss. He didn't just apply that to bodybuilding. He applied it to everything. Every single domain of his life was built on the same principle. Seek out what makes you uncomfortable and do that. Not sometimes, every day. Because comfort isn't neutral, it's not maintenance. Comfort is regression in disguise. And the scary part, you won't notice it happening. You'll just wake up one day and realize you're exactly the same as you were 5 years ago. Same routines, same excuses, same boundaries you refuse to cross. Same life. Arnold called that a slow death. And he was right. So let me ask you something. What are you doing right now that actually scares you? Not stresses you, not keeps you busy. What are you doing that puts you in territory where you genuinely don't know if you'll succeed? Where failure is not just possible but likely. Where you might look stupid, fall short, or have to admit you're not as good as you thought. If the answer is nothing, you're not growing. You're just getting comfortable with where you are. And here's the brutal truth Arnold lived by. The things that make you comfortable today are the things that will make you irrelevant tomorrow. Because the world doesn't stay still, your competition doesn't stay still. The version of yourself you're capable of becoming, that doesn't wait around while you figure out if you're ready. It demands action now. Uncomfortable action. The kind that makes you question whether you're doing too much, whether you're pushing too hard, whether you should just ease up and be reasonable. Arnold never asked those questions. Arnold's training for Mr. Universe. He's 19 years old. He's doing leg squats until he literally can't stand. Then he's doing more. Calf raises until his legs are shaking. Then he's doing more. People ask him why. You're already better than almost everyone. His answer, I'm not competing with everyone. I'm competing with who I could be. That's the difference. Most people measure themselves against the people around them. And once they're doing better than average, they relax. Arnold measured himself against the version of himself that didn't exist yet. The one that would only exist if he kept choosing the harder path. Every single day. And yeah, that meant pain. Real pain. Not motivational quote pain. Not embrace the grind Instagram pain. The kind of pain that makes you want to quit. That makes you question why you're doing this to yourself. That makes comfort look like the smart choice. Arnold reframed that pain as the price of transformation. Not an obstacle to avoid, not a sign to back off. The mechanism itself. See, most people treat discomfort like it's a problem to solve. something to minimize, manage, avoid. Arnold treated it like a compass. If something felt too easy, he knew he was in the wrong zone. If something felt manageable, he added weight. If something felt sustainable, he wasn't pushing hard enough. He deliberately sought out the thing that felt unreasonable. Because reasonable doesn't build anything exceptional. Reasonable keeps you exactly where you are. And Arnold didn't move to America to be reasonable. Arnold lands in California, 20 years old, can barely speak English, no connections, no safety net. He could have taken it slow, learned the language first, built a base, played it safe. Instead, he's training twice a day, taking English classes 4 hours a day, doing construction work to pay rent, hustling for sponsorships. All at once, people told him to slow down, to focus on one thing, to be realistic about what's sustainable. He ignored them. Because sustainable wasn't the goal, transformation was. And transformation doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens in the gap between who you are and who you're forcing yourself to become. That gap is supposed to hurt. It's supposed to feel like too much. It's supposed to make you question whether you can actually do this. That's not a warning sign. That's confirmation you're in the right place. But here's where most people break. They hit discomfort, and they interpret it as evidence they're doing something wrong. They're not. They're just doing something new. And new always feels wrong at first. Arnold understood that. He lived it. Arnold's pivoting from bodybuilding to acting full-time. He's taking roles where he can barely deliver his lines. Hercules in New York. His voice is so hard to understand they dubbed over him in post-production. Humiliating? Absolutely. Did he stop? No. He kept taking roles, kept working with dialect coaches, kept showing up on sets where people doubted he belonged. He trained in private what he'd display in public. That freezing gym in Austria, no one saw those sessions, the hours perfecting poses in front of mirrors, alone. The early movie roles where he bombed, he took those knowing they'd be painful. But he also knew something most people never figure out. Public success is built on private failure. The stuff no one sees, the reps no one's watching, the moments where you're struggling and there's no audience to impress. That's where the real work happens. That's where you build the foundation that lets you perform when it matters. Arnold spent thousands of hours alone in gyms, thousands of hours rehearsing lines no one would hear, thousands of hours doing the thing that hurt, when there was no reward, no recognition, no proof it would pay off. He did it anyway. Because he wasn't training for applause, he was training for transformation. And transformation doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about your actions. So here's the question you need to answer. What are you avoiding right now because it's uncomfortable? What's the thing you know you should be doing, but you keep finding reasons to delay? What's the hard conversation, the difficult project, the skill you need to build but keep putting off because it means starting as a beginner? Whatever just came to mind, that's not random. That's the exact thing Arnold would tell you to do today. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances improve. Today. Because here's what happens when you choose comfort. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You stay exactly where you are. Same skills, same limits, same excuses. And 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, you'll still be in the same place, telling yourself the same stories about why now's not the right time. Arnold chose discomfort deliberately, every single day. When comfortable roles were available, he chose Conan the Barbarian, a physically brutal, career-risky sword and sorcery film no one believed in. When he could have stayed in bodybuilding where he was dominant, he walked into Hollywood where he was nobody. When he could have retired rich and famous, He ran for governor and put his reputation on the line. Every pivot, every risk, every major move. He chose the harder path. Not because he was fearless, because he understood that ease is invisible progress. The comfortable choice feels safe in the moment, but it compounds into regret over time. The uncomfortable choice feels risky in the moment, but it compounds into transformation. And you don't get to stay neutral. Every day you choose comfort, you're choosing to be the same person tomorrow that you are today. Every day you choose discomfort, you're choosing to become someone you've never been. Arnold chose the latter, over and over and over, until the gap between who he was and who he became was so wide, people forgot he'd ever been anything else. That's the goal. Not incremental improvement, not small, comfortable steps. Unrecognizable transformation. The kind where you look back in 2 years and barely recognize the person you used to be. But that only happens if you're willing to do what feels unreasonable. To train when no one's watching, to push past the point where it stops feeling good, to seek out the thing that scares you, and do that. Daily. Without applause, without immediate results, without certainty that it'll work. Just the decision to choose hard over easy, growth over comfort, transformation over maintenance. That's the operating system. And it's not complicated. It's just uncomfortable. Which is exactly why most people never do it. They wait for it to feel right. They wait for motivation. They wait for the path to get easier. Arnold never waited. He walked into the discomfort and stayed there until it became normal. Then he found something harder. And he did it again. For 60 years. That's not willpower, that's identity. He wasn't someone trying to be disciplined. He was someone who sought out hard things as a way of life. And you can do the same thing. Not by becoming Arnold, by adopting the framework. By asking every morning, what's the hardest, most uncomfortable thing I could do today? And then doing that. Not the easiest, not the most efficient, not the most comfortable. The hardest, because that's where growth lives. That's where the version of yourself you actually want to become is waiting. Not in your comfort zone, not in your routines, not in the things you've already mastered. In the territory beyond what feels manageable. That's where Arnold built everything. And that's where your next chapter begins. Not with a plan, not with permission, not with certainty. With the decision to make today harder than yesterday. On purpose, because comfortable is easy, and easy doesn't build anything worth having. Chapter 3, Vision without reps is just a fantasy, build the body of proof. There's a version of Arnold Schwarzenegger most people think they know. The guy who visualized success, who saw himself winning Mr. Olympia before it happened, who used his mind to create his future. And yeah, that's true. But here's the part everyone skips. The visualization meant nothing without the 5 to 6 hours of daily training that followed it. Nothing. Arnold didn't sit around imagining himself on stage, holding a trophy while his body stayed the same. He imagined it, then he went to the gym and built the proof. Rep by rep, set by set, day after day. For years. Because here's what most people get wrong about vision. Vision without execution is just daydreaming. It's fantasy. It's self-deception dressed up as ambition. And Arnold knew that at 16 years old. He had this notebook, started keeping it when he first got serious about bodybuilding. Every single workout went in that notebook. Every exercise, every set, every rep, the weight he used, how it felt, what failed, what worked. He didn't just train, he documented. Because documentation is proof. Not to other people, to yourself. See, Arnold understood something most people never figure out. You can't believe in a vision you're not backing up with evidence. Your brain is too smart for that. You can tell yourself you're committed. You can say you're serious. You can talk about your goals until everyone around you is sick of hearing about them. But if you're not building tangible proof every single day, your subconscious knows you're lying, and it stops believing you. That's the real gap, not between where you are and where you want to be, between what you say you want and what you're actually building toward. Arnold closed that gap the only way that works: by stacking daily proof. One workout at a time, one measured result at a time, one documented action that proved to himself he was actually doing this. Not thinking about it, doing it. And the proof had to be physical, tangible, measurable. Not, I felt good about my workout today. I squatted 315 for 8 reps. Last week I did 6. That's proof. That's the difference between imagination and progress. So let me ask you something. What's your vision right now? What's the thing you keep telling yourself you're working toward? Now, what proof did you build yesterday that you're actually moving toward it? Not what you thought about, not what you planned, not what you intended to do. What did you actually do? And more importantly, did you track it? Because here's the uncomfortable truth Arnold lived by. If you're not tracking it, you're not serious about it. You're just keeping it as an option, a nice idea, a someday goal. Arnold didn't operate on someday. He operated on today, with numbers, with documentation, with proof that couldn't be argued with. Arnold's 17, training in a gym in Graz, Austria. He's not just doing exercises. He's testing, experimenting, trying different grips, different rep ranges, different rest periods. And he's writing it all down. What worked, what didn't, which exercises made his biceps respond, which ones were a waste of time. Other guys in the gym, they're just showing up, going through the motions, hopping for results. Arnold was building a database. Every workout was data. Every rep was information. Every session was an experiment that would inform the next one. That's not passion. That's not motivation. That's process. And process is what separates people who dream from people who deliver. Because here's what happens when you don't track. You lose accountability. You lose precision. You lose the ability to know whether you're actually improving or just repeating the same effort at the same level forever. You drift. And drift feels like progress because you're busy, you're showing up, you're putting in effort. But busy without measurement is just motion. It's not growth. Arnold refused to confuse the two. If he wasn't measurably better this week than last week, the week was wasted. Not felt better, not tried harder. Better by the numbers. More weight, more reps, better form, faster recovery. Something had to be different. Something had to be documented. Otherwise, it didn't count. That's the standard. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. Because it forces you to face the truth about how much you're actually doing versus how much you're telling yourself you're doing. Most people avoid that mirror. They keep their goals vague, their effort unmeasured, their progress subjective. Because if you don't track it, you can tell yourself any story you want. Arnold didn't want stories, he wanted proof. And he built it in private, long before anyone was watching. See, by the time Arnold stepped on stage at Mr. Olympia, he'd already rehearsed every single pose thousands of times. Thousands. Not on stage, not in front of judges, not with an audience. Alone, in front of mirrors, in empty gyms after everyone else went home. He'd practiced the transition from one pose to another until it was seamless. He'd hold poses until his muscles were screaming, training his body to stay locked in position under maximum tension. He'd film himself, watch the playback, identify the smallest flaws and correct them. Over and over and over. No one saw that work. No one applauded, no one validated, no one told him he was on the right track. He just did it and logged it and improved it. Because public performance is built on private repetition. The stuff no one sees, the reps no one's watching, the hours of work that never make it to highlight reels. That's where confidence actually comes from. Not from believing in yourself, from proving to yourself that you've done the work. Arnold stepped on stage confident, not because he hoped he'd win, because he knew he'd put in more hours, more reps, more refinement than anyone else in the competition. The outcome was already decided in the gym. The stage was just confirmation. And you can apply the same framework to anything you're trying to build. But you have to stop confusing intention with action. You have to stop telling yourself that thinking about it counts. It doesn't. Only the work counts. Only the reps count. Only the measurable, documented, tangible proof that you're actually doing this counts. Everything else is noise. Arnold had a phrase for people who talked about their goals without backing them up. He called them dreamers. Not as a compliment, as a warning. Because dreaming is easy, talking is easy, planning is easy. Execution is hard. Logging your execution, even harder. Because now you can't hide from the truth. You can't pretend you're doing more than you are. You can't exaggerate your effort. You can't convince yourself you're on track when the numbers say otherwise. The notebook doesn't lie. And that's exactly why Arnold used one. Not to impress anyone, to keep himself honest. To make sure the gap between his vision and his reality was closing, not staying the same. So here's the shift you need to make. Stop asking, what do I want to achieve? Start asking, what proof am I building today that I'm moving toward it? And then track that proof. Write it down, log it, document it. Make it so concrete that 6 months from now, you can look back and see exactly what changed. Not what you felt, not what you hoped, not what you intended. What you actually did. That's the only currency that matters. Arnold knew this when he was training for his first Mr. Olympia. He didn't just visualize winning. He tracked every variable that would contribute to winning. Body weight, body fat percentage, measurements of every muscle group, strength levels on every major lift, hours of posing practice per week. All of it documented, measured, tracked. So when competition day came, there was no question. He'd done the work, he had the proof, the outcome was inevitable. And when he won, he didn't celebrate by taking time off. He opened his notebook and started planning the next one. Because the vision didn't stop at Mr. Olympia. The vision was to win it 7 times, to be undisputed, to be unmatched. And that required proof, daily for years. No breaks, no coasting, no assuming past success would carry forward. Just the decision to keep stacking evidence. One workout, one rep, one logged session at a time. Until the gap between the vision and the reality disappeared completely. That's the work. And most people quit long before they get there. Not because they don't have the vision, because they don't have the discipline to build the proof. They get excited about the goal, they tell people, they make plans. And then a week later, nothing's changed. Because they confuse talking about it with doing it. Arnold never made that mistake. If it wasn't in the notebook, it didn't happen. If it wasn't measurable, it didn't count. If he couldn't prove he'd done it, he hadn't. That's the standard that built everything. Not just bodybuilding, everything. When Arnold decided to become a movie star, same framework. He didn't just take acting classes, he tracked his progress, lines memorized per day, accent reduction sessions per week, auditions attended, roles landed versus roles rejected. He treated his career like a training log. And when people said he'd never make it in Hollywood, wrong body type, wrong accent, wrong name, Arnold didn't argue. He just kept logging proof that they were wrong. Roll by roll, line by line, improvement by improvement, until the proof was undeniable. Same thing when he ran for governor. He didn't just announce his candidacy and hope people would vote for him. He tracked town halls attended, policy papers read, advisors consulted, voter concerns documented. He built proof he was serious, proof he was learning, proof he was committed. And people could feel that proof. Because proof has weight, proof is credible, proof is what separates people who talk from people who deliver. Arnold was always in the second category. So here's what you need to do. Right now, today, stop talking about your vision. Start building proof of your vision. Pick one thing, one action, one measurable outcome that moves you toward what you say you want. And track it. Not just do it, track it. Write it down, log the date, log the result, make it real. Then do it again tomorrow. And the day after that. And 30 days from now, look at what you've logged. That's your proof. That's the only thing that will make you believe you're actually capable of this. Not affirmations, not vision boards, not motivational quotes. Proof built daily, documented relentlessly. That's what Arnold did. That's what anyone who's ever closed the gap between vision and reality does. They stop imagining and start measuring. They stop planning and start logging. They stop talking and start proving. And the proof compounds. One rep at a time, one logged session at a time, 1 week of documented progress at a time, until the person you imagine becoming is the person you actually are. Not because you believed hard enough, because you built the evidence. Rep by rep, day by day, proof by proof. That's the work. And if you're not doing it, you're just dreaming. Arnold didn't dream, he documented. And the documentation became his reality. Your turn. Close this chapter, open a notebook, write today's date, and start logging the one thing you've been talking about instead of doing. Not tomorrow, right now. Because the gap between fantasy and reality, it closes with proof. Nothing else. And the proof starts today. Or it doesn't start at all. Chapter 4. Fail bigger than they can imagine, the sequels no one believed in. Arnold Schwarzenegger is at the peak of his career. Terminator 2 just became one of the highest-grossing films of all time. He's the biggest action star on the planet. Every studio wants him. Every role is his for the taking. And then he releases Last Action Hero. It bombs hard. Critics tear it apart. Audiences stay home. The budget was $85 million, massive for 1993, and it barely breaks even. Career-ending type of failure for most actors. Arnold's response. He makes Junior, a comedy about a pregnant man. Then Jingle All the Way, a family Christmas movie. Both bomb worse than Last Action Hero. 3 consecutive failures, public, expensive, humiliating. And here's what most people miss about that moment. Arnold didn't slow down, didn't play it safe, didn't retreat to what was working. He kept swinging. Because he understood something most people spend their entire lives refusing to accept. Failure isn't the problem. Stopping is. See, most people have this backwards. They think the goal is to avoid failure, to protect their reputation, to only make moves they're confident will work. So they play small, they stick to what's safe, they avoid anything that might make them look stupid. And they call that smart. Arnold called it slow death. Because here's the truth he lived by. The more you're willing to fail publicly, the less anyone can take from you. When you've already bombed on a global stage, when you've already been ridiculed in reviews, when you've already had your name attached to disasters? What's left to be afraid of? Nothing. And that fearlessness, that's what creates range. That's what creates growth. That's what separates people who peak early from people who keep evolving. Arnold didn't just accept failure, he weaponized it. He treated every bomb, every bad review, every movie that flopped as expensive education. Not defeat, data. And the data told him something crucial. He could survive this. The critics could tear him apart. The box office could reject him. The industry could write him off. And he'd still be standing. Still working, still choosing, still moving forward. That's power. Not the power to never fail, the power to fail and keep going anyway. Most people never develop that power because they never test it. They avoid risk. They avoid visibility. They avoid anything that might expose them to judgment. And in doing so, they make failure the ultimate authority in their lives. They give it veto power over every decision. Arnold did the opposite. He made failure routine, normal, expected. Not because he wanted to fail, because he wanted to be free. Free to try things that might not work. Free to expand into territory where success wasn't guaranteed. Free to risk looking foolish in pursuit of range. And yeah, that meant looking foolish sometimes. Twins, 1988. Arnold plays a sweet, naive twin opposite Danny DeVito in a comedy. Everyone in Hollywood told him it was career suicide. Action stars don't do comedy. Your fans won't accept it. You'll ruin your brand. Arnold made it anyway. And people laughed, not with the movie, at Arnold, at the idea of Arnold Schwarzenegger being funny, at his accent trying to deliver punchlines. He didn't care. Because he wasn't protecting a brand, he was building range. And range requires embarrassment. You can't expand without risking ridicule. You can't grow without attempting things you're not good at yet. You can't evolve without being willing to look incompetent. Most people aren't willing to pay that price. They'd rather stay in their lane, master one thing, be known for one thing, protect their reputation in one domain. Arnold mastered bodybuilding, then walked into Hollywood as a complete beginner. Mastered action films, then tried comedy knowing he'd probably fail. Dominated entertainment, then ran for governor knowing half the state would mock him. Every pivot required public incompetence. Every expansion required temporary embarrassment. And he accepted that deliberately. Because the alternative, staying in one lane forever, felt like suffocation. So let me ask you something. What are you not attempting right now because the failure would be too visible? What project are you avoiding because if it doesn't work, people will know? What move are you delaying because the embarrassment would be public, permanent, searchable? Whatever just came to mind, that's exactly what Arnold would tell you to do. Not because it'll work, because the willingness to fail at it is what builds the person you're trying to become. See, here's what Arnold understood that most people don't. Failure in public builds immunity. Failure in private builds nothing. When you fail where no one can see, you learn to hide. You learn to play small. You learn that mistakes are things to be ashamed of. When you fail where everyone can see, you learn that you survive it. And that survival is the foundation of fearlessness. Arnold failed on magazine covers, in box office reports, in review sections of major newspapers. He failed at scale. He failed with his name attached. He failed where millions of people could judge him. And every time he survived it, he got a little bit harder to intimidate, a little bit more willing to risk, a little bit less concerned with what anyone thought. Because the worst had already happened, multiple times, and he was still here. Still working, still choosing ambitious projects, still taking swings. That's the immunity. Not to failure itself, to the fear of failure. And once you're immune to that fear, you're unstoppable. Because there's nothing left to protect. No reputation safe enough to justify staying small. No past success valuable enough to stop you from risking it. Arnold proved this over and over. After Terminator 2, he could have just made action sequels forever. Safe, profitable, expected. Instead, he made Last Action Hero, a meta-commentary on action films that confused audiences and alienated fans. Bombed. He could have retreated, played it safe, gone back to what worked. Instead, he made Junior, a high-concept comedy that critics savaged. Bombed again. At this point, most actors would be done experimenting, back to the formula, back to safety. Arnold made Jingle All the Way, a slapstick family comedy that became a punchline. 3 failures in a row, each one more public than the last. And through all of it, Arnold kept his momentum. Because momentum isn't about winning, it's about moving. And stopping, even after success, is what kills careers, what kills growth, what kills potential. The people who last aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who refuse to let failure be the end of the sentence. Arnold treated every flop as a comma, not a period. Failed comedy, comma, try another genre. Failed genre experiment, comma, try politics. Lost an election, comma, run again. He never let failure be the final word. And that refusal, that absolute unwillingness to stop moving forward, is what built resilience most people never develop. Because resilience isn't a personality trait, it's a skill. And you develop it the same way Arnold did. By failing repeatedly, publicly, and continuing anyway. Not because you're confident the next thing will work, because you're confident you'll survive if it doesn't. That's the shift. Most people are trying to build enough confidence to attempt something risky. Arnold built confidence by attempting risky things and surviving the fallout. He didn't wait to feel ready. He didn't wait for certainty. He didn't wait for permission or proof or a guarantee it would work. He just moved, failed, learned, moved again. And every failure made the next risk easier to take. Because he had proof, not that he'd succeed, that he'd survive. And survival is all you need. Think about where you are right now. How much of your life is shaped by fear of visible failure? How many decisions are you making or not making because you're protecting yourself from judgment? How many opportunities are you letting pass because the potential embarrassment feels too high? Arnold faced that same fear every time he pivoted, every time he tried something new, every time he stepped outside his zone of proven competence. The difference is he did it anyway. Not because he was fearless, because he valued growth more than he valued protection. He'd rather look stupid and expand than look smart and stagnate. And that priority, growth over image, range over reputation, evolution over safety, that's what built everything. The bodybuilder who became an actor, the action star who tried comedy, the entertainer who became a governor. None of those transitions were safe. None of them were guaranteed. All of them involved public risk and potential humiliation. And all of them happened because Arnold was willing to fail bigger than anyone expected. Kindergarten Cop, 1990. Arnold plays a detective forced to go undercover as a kindergarten teacher. The concept is absurd. The role is completely outside his wheelhouse. Critics are skeptical. Arnold does it anyway and gets destroyed in reviews, called a one-note actor trying to stretch beyond his limits. But you know what else happened. The movie made money, found an audience, became a cultural reference point. Not because it was perfect, because Arnold was willing to try it imperfectly. And that willingness to be imperfect publicly, to attempt things you're not good at yet, to risk looking incompetent in pursuit of range, that's what separates people who grow from people who plateau. Most people plateau not because they lack talent, Because they lack tolerance for temporary incompetence. They want to be good at everything immediately. They want to master before they begin. They want certainty before they commit. Arnold was willing to suck, publicly, for months or years while he figured it out. And that tolerance for visible struggle is what built range no one thought was possible. So here's the question you need to answer. What would you attempt if failure didn't define you? If a public bomb didn't mean you were done? If embarrassment didn't mean you were incompetent? If criticism didn't mean you should quit? What would you try? That project you've been researching for months but never starting. That pitch you've been perfecting but never sending. That skill you've been meaning to learn but avoiding because you'd be a beginner again. What's stopping you isn't lack of ability. It's fear of visible failure. And that fear is a cage you're building, one avoided risk at a time. Arnold broke out of that cage by deliberately choosing the thing that could fail spectacularly. And when it did fail, he didn't retreat, he didn't apologize, he didn't let it define his trajectory. He just moved to the next thing. Because the only unforgivable mistake is stopping. Everything else, data, education, expensive lessons that build immunity. Public humiliation is temporary, the reviews fade, the criticism quiets, the box office numbers become history. But private surrender is permanent. The decision to play it safe from now on, the choice to protect your reputation over expanding your range, the commitment to never risk embarrassment again. That decision kills growth forever. Arnold refused to make it. And you can refuse it too. Not by being fearless, by being willing to look foolish. By choosing the project that might bomb, the pitch that might get rejected, the skill that'll make you look incompetent for months. And when it fails, because it might, treating it the way Arnold treated Last Action Hero. As a comma, not a period. As data, not defeat. As proof you're still willing to swing, which means you're still in the game. That's the work. And it's uncomfortable, and public, and risky. Which is exactly why it builds the immunity most people never develop. The immunity to fear, to judgment, to the possibility of visible failure. Arnold built that immunity by failing bigger than anyone expected. 3 box office bombs in a row, each one more public than the last. And he kept moving. That's the standard. Not never failing, and refusing to let it be the last word. Your turn. Pick the thing you've been avoiding, because the failure would be too visible. And start it this week. Not because it'll work, because you'll survive if it doesn't. And that's survival. That's what builds everything that comes next. Chapter 5. Outwork your doubts before breakfast. The 5 a.m. advantage Arnold never negotiated. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a rule that most people would call extreme. 6 a.m. every morning, no exceptions. Not when he felt like it, not when he got enough sleep, not unless he was tired. 6 a.m. in the gym training. Holidays, filming days, jet-lagged from travel, sore from yesterday's session. Didn't matter. The alarm went off, he got up, he trained. And here's what most people miss about that routine. It wasn't inspirational. It wasn't about passion or loving the grind. It was mechanical. A decision made once that eliminated the need to decide again. Because Arnold understood something at a young age that most people never figure out. The battle isn't won in the gym. It's won in bed, when the alarm goes off and your body wants to stay down. That's the real fight. And whoever wins that fight controls the entire day. See, most people approach their mornings backwards. They wait to feel motivated. They wait to feel rested. They wait to feel ready. And while they're waiting, the day slips away. Discipline depletes, willpower fades, and by afternoon, the hard thing they meant to do gets pushed to tomorrow. Again Arnold flipped that entire script. He didn't wait for readiness. He acted first, then dealt with how he felt about it. Because here's the truth that changes everything. Doubt doesn't survive action. It survives stillness. It thrives in hesitation. It grows in the gap between intention and execution. But the moment you start moving, it evaporates. Arnold proved this every single morning for decades. He'd wake up tired, sore, unmotivated, every excuse available. And he'd train anyway. Not because the doubt disappeared, because he refused to negotiate with it. He didn't ask himself, "Do I feel like training today?" He just went. And by the time his first set was done, the doubt was gone, irrelevant, defeated by movement. That's the pattern. And it compounds. Because when you win the morning, when you do the hard thing before your mind has time to talk you out of it, you create psychological momentum that carries through the entire day. Suddenly, everything else feels manageable. Every other decision feels easier. Every other challenge feels smaller. Because you've already done the hardest thing. Arnold built his entire life on that foundation. The day's outcome was decided before breakfast. Not by what he planned to do, by what he'd already done. And once that hard thing was complete, the rest of the day was just details. So let me ask you something. What time did you wake up this morning? And more importantly, what did you do in the first 2 hours? Because those 2 hours, they're not neutral, they're not just the start of your day. They're the decision about what kind of day you're going to have and what kind of person you're becoming. Arnold woke up at 5:30 or 6:00 a.m. Not because he was a morning person, because morning is when discipline is strongest. Before distractions, before emails, before other people's priorities start flooding in. Morning is when you still own your day. And Arnold protected that time like it was sacred. Because it was. 1970s. Arnold's training for his 5th Mr. Olympia title. He's already the most dominant bodybuilder in the world. He could ease up, take days off, let his reputation carry him. Instead, he's still training at 6 a.m., still doing 2-hour morning sessions, still treating every workout like he's the underdog. People ask him why. You've already won. You've already proved yourself. His answer, the morning is when I prove it to myself. Not to the judges, not to the fans, to himself. That he's still willing to do the thing when no one's watching, when there's no applause, when it's just him and the weight and the decision to show up. That's where real discipline lives. Not in the moments that feel good, in the moments that don't. Not when you're motivated, when you're not. Not when it's easy, when it's hard. And it's always hardest in the morning. When your body's still tired, when the bed is warm, when every rational reason to stay down is screaming at you. That's the test. And Arnold passed it every single day. Not because he was superhuman, because he made it non-negotiable. See, here's where most people break. They treat their morning routine as optional, as something they'll do if they wake up on time, if they feel rested, if they're not too busy. That if is the problem. Because if creates negotiation, and negotiation creates delay, and delay creates failure. Arnold eliminated the if. There was no decision to make, no internal debate, no weighing of options. Alarm goes off, get up, train. The end. And that rigidity, that refusal to negotiate with himself, is what built the flexibility to do everything else. Because when the foundation is solid, you can take risks on top of it. Arnold could experiment with movies, try comedy, run for governor, because his mornings were locked in. No matter what chaos happened during the day, he knew he'd already won the most important battle. The one against himself. And that victory compounds. Every morning you choose discipline, you build trust with yourself. Every morning you follow through, you prove you're the kind of person who does what they say. And over time, that self-trust becomes the most valuable asset you have. Because you stop doubting whether you'll show up, you know you will. You stop questioning whether you'll follow through, you've got proof. You stop negotiating with discomfort, you've already decided. That's freedom. Not the freedom to skip, the freedom to know you won't. Arnold had that freedom, and it started at 6 a.m. every single morning. Even while filming, especially while filming. Conan the Barbarian, 1981, months of shooting in Spain, brutal conditions, long days, physical exhaustion. Arnold still up before dawn, still training, still treating the morning like it's non-negotiable. The crew thought he was crazy. You're already working 12-hour days, you're already exhausted, why add more? Because the work wasn't the point, the discipline was. The decision to keep the standard, even when circumstances gave him permission to lower it. That's what separates people who peak from people who sustain. Anyone can be disciplined when conditions are perfect, when they're rested, motivated, supported. Arnold was disciplined when conditions were terrible, when he was jet-lagged, sleep-deprived, filming in freezing weather. He didn't lower the standard, he met it anyway. And that consistency, that refusal to make excuses even when the excuses were legitimate, is what built the resilience that carried him through everything. Because discipline isn't about the days when it's easy, it's about the days when it's not. And those days start in the morning. When you're tired, when you don't feel like it, when staying in bed would be so much easier. That's when the real choice happens. And whatever you choose in that moment, you're choosing what kind of person you're becoming. Someone who negotiates with discomfort, or someone who moves through it. Someone who waits for motivation, or someone who acts despite its absence. Someone who lets their feelings dictate their actions, or someone who acts first and processes feelings later. Arnold chose the latter every single morning. And over time, that choice compounded into a life most people think is impossible. But it's not impossible, it's just uncomfortable. And most people aren't willing to be uncomfortable before breakfast. They want to ease into the day, check their phone, scroll for a while, let their brain wake up slowly. And by the time they're actually ready to do something hard, it's 10 a.m., noon, afternoon. And the momentum is gone. Arnold front-loaded the hard thing, did it first, when discipline was strongest and doubt was weakest. And everything else in his day benefited from that decision. Because here's what happens when you start with the hardest thing. Everything else feels easier by comparison. Every other decision feels less significant. Every other challenge feels manageable. You've already faced down the hardest moment of your day, choosing discipline over comfort when you're half asleep. What's a difficult conversation compared to that? What's a challenging work task compared to that? Nothing. The morning trains you for the rest of the day. And if you win the morning, you're already ahead. So here's the question you need to answer. What's the hardest thing you need to do tomorrow? Not the most important, not the most urgent, the hardest. The thing you're most likely to avoid, most likely to delay, most likely to talk yourself out of. Arnold would tell you to do that thing first, before breakfast, before email, before your brain has time to manufacture reasons why later would be better. Do it when discipline is fresh, when willpower is full, when doubt hasn't had time to build its case. Do it in the morning. Not because it'll be easy, because easy doesn't build anything. Because hard is what builds the person you're trying to become. And that person, they don't negotiate with comfort, they don't wait for motivation, they don't delay the hard thing until conditions improve. They just move. Early, consistently, mechanically. Whether they feel like it or not. That's the standard Arnold lived by for 60 years. And it's available to you right now. Not someday, tomorrow morning. Set the alarm 90 minutes earlier than usual, not as punishment, as opportunity. Opportunity to do the thing you've been delaying, the thing you know you should be doing but keep pushing back. Do that first, before anything else. Before you check your phone, before you make coffee, before you're fully awake. Just do it. And notice what happens. Notice how the doubt that seemed so loud last night disappears the moment you start moving. Notice how the resistance that felt so real evaporates in action. Notice how the rest of your day feels lighter, easier, more manageable, because the hard part is already done. That's the advantage Arnold never gave up. Not because mornings were easy for him, because he refused to let difficulty be a reason to delay. He understood that doubt doesn't respond to thinking, it responds to movement. And the fastest way to kill doubt is to act before it wakes up. At 6 a.m., doubt is still asleep, discipline is awake. And whoever moves first wins. Arnold moved first every single day. Not perfectly, not always enthusiastically, but consistently. And that consistency, choosing discipline before doubt has a chance to speak, is what built everything. Your turn. Stop negotiating. Stop waiting for the right mood. Stop convincing yourself that later is better. Set the alarm, get up when it goes off, do the hard thing first. And let the momentum from that one decision carry you through everything else. Because the battle isn't won in the afternoon, it's won before breakfast. When no one's watching, when it's just you and the choice. Discipline or delay, action or negotiation, movement or stillness. Arnold chose discipline, chose action, chose movement. For 60 years. Same choice, every morning, same refusal to negotiate. And it built a life most people call impossible. But it's not impossible. It's just early. And early is where the advantage is. Chapter 6. Make decisions like a machine. Emotion is noise. Action is signal. Arnold Schwarzenegger once said something that made a lot of people uncomfortable. I knew I was a winner back in the late 60s. I knew I was destined for great things. People will say that kind of thinking is totally immodest. I agree. Modesty is not a word that applies to me in any way. Not I hoped, not I dreamed. He knew. And that certainty, it didn't come from feelings. It came from a decision-making framework that treated emotions like weather. Real, present, completely irrelevant to the decision. See, most people make choices based on how they feel in the moment. Does this feel right? Does this feel scary? Does this feel like too much? And they treat those feelings like data, like truth, like signals they should follow. Arnold treated them like noise. Because here's what he understood that most people refuse to accept. Feelings change every hour, principles don't. And if you're making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions, you're not making decisions at all. You're just reacting. Arnold made decisions like a machine, cold, calculated, based on one question and one question only. Does this move me toward the goal? Not does this feel comfortable, not will people approve, not am I ready. Does it move me toward the goal? If yes, he did it immediately, without hesitation. If no, he didn't, no matter how appealing it felt. That's the framework. And it eliminated 90% of the internal drama most people live with every single day. Because when you decide from the outcome instead of the mood, there's nothing to debate. The path is clear, the choice is obvious, the action is immediate. Arnold proved this over and over in every major pivot of his life. Arnold's retiring from bodybuilding, 7 Mr. Olympia titles, undefeated, the greatest ever. He could keep competing, keep winning, keep collecting trophies. But that's not the goal anymore. The goal is Hollywood. So he walks away, at the peak, when everyone's telling him to stay. Not because it felt right, because it aligned with the vision. And the vision didn't care about his feelings. Same thing when he decided to run for governor of California in 2003. Everyone around him said it was insane. You're an actor, you're foreign-born, you have no political experience. The media will destroy you. Arnold listened to all of it and evaluated it against one question. Does this move me toward the goal of serving in public office? Yes. So he announced that week. Not after he felt ready, not after he built consensus, not after the fear went away. The fear didn't go away. He just decided it wasn't relevant. That's the difference. Most people wait for the fear to subside before they act. Arnold acted and let the fear figure itself out. Because emotions are real-time feedback. They're your nervous system responding to uncertainty, risk, pressure. But they're not a decision-making system. They're not designed to tell you what to do. They're designed to alert you that something significant is happening. And once you've acknowledged that, you still have to decide. Based on strategy, based on outcomes, based on whether the move aligns with where you're trying to go. Not based on whether it feels good. Arnold's biggest moves never felt good at first. Leaving Austria for America at 20, terrifying. Walking away from bodybuilding at his peak, uncomfortable. Switching from action films to comedy, risky. Running for governor, absurd. None of those felt right in the moment. None of them felt safe. But all of them moved him toward the goal. So he did them, without overthinking, without waiting for confidence, without needing permission from his emotions. He just decided and executed. That's the operating system. And it creates speed most people never develop. Because while they're stuck in analysis paralysis, weighing feelings, checking in with themselves, waiting for clarity, Arnold's already 3 moves ahead. He decides fast, acts faster, adjusts if needed. But he never stays stuck in the decision. Because staying stuck is the real risk. Not making the wrong choice, taking too long to make any choice. Arnold understood that hesitation is just fear with better marketing. It disguises itself as being thoughtful, as doing due diligence, as making sure it's the right move. But really, it's just fear of committing. Fear of being wrong, fear of looking stupid, fear of consequences. And that fear will keep you frozen forever if you let it. Arnold didn't let it. He treated decisiveness as a competitive advantage. In bodybuilding, when other competitors were still debating whether to switch up their training, Arnold had already tested 3 new approaches. In business, when other actors were negotiating deals for weeks, Arnold decided in days. In politics, when career politicians were polling and focus grouping every position, Arnold stated his stance and moved on. Speed of decision became part of his edge. Because while everyone else was thinking, Arnold was doing. And doing always beats thinking. Not because the decision was perfect, because action generates information that thinking never will. You learn by moving, by testing, by committing and seeing what happens. You don't learn by analyzing endlessly. Arnold knew this at a gut level. Mid-1980s, Arnold's choosing between 2 movie offers. One is safe, a role similar to what he's done before, guaranteed paycheck, low risk. The other is Predator, high-concept sci-fi action, unproven director, could flop spectacularly. Arnold takes Predator, doesn't agonize over it, doesn't consult 10 advisors, doesn't wait to see which one feels right. He evaluates it against his goal, expand range, take bigger swings, build a career that lasts and decides. 24 hours, done. Most actors would have spent weeks on that choice, weighing pros and cons, talking to agents, sleeping on it. Arnold made the call and moved on. Because he understood something crucial. Most decisions are reversible, and the ones that aren't, you still have to make. So make them fast, make them based on strategy, make them without needing your emotions to approve. And then deal with the consequences. That's the work. Not avoiding consequences, handling them. Not avoiding wrong decisions, making enough decisions fast enough that the wrong ones don't matter. Arnold made plenty of wrong decisions, movies that bombed, business deals that fell through, political moves that backfired. He didn't let any of them slow him down. Because he wasn't trying to be perfect, he was trying to move forward. And forward momentum requires decisiveness. The willingness to commit, to choose, to execute. Even when, especially when, you don't have all the information. Because here's the truth most people never accept. You'll never have all the information. You'll never feel completely ready. You'll never eliminate all the risk. Waiting for those conditions is just another way to avoid deciding. Arnold didn't wait. He evaluated the information he had, made the best call he could, and moved. If it worked, great, keep going. If it didn't, adjust, learn, make the next call. But never stop moving. That's the framework. And it requires something most people aren't willing to develop. Emotional discipline. The ability to feel fear and act anyway. The ability to feel doubt and ignore it. The ability to feel uncertainty and commit despite it. Arnold had that discipline in spades. Not because he didn't feel those emotions, because he refused to let them make his decisions. He acknowledged them, registered them, set them aside, and then asked the only question that mattered. Does this move me toward the goal? Think about your life right now. How many decisions are you sitting on? How many choices are you overthinking, overanalyzing, waiting to feel right? How many moves are you delaying because you're checking in with your emotions instead of your strategy? Arnold would tell you to stop. Stop treating your feelings like they're the boss. They're not. They're just feedback, data points, signals that something's happening. But they're not the decision maker. You are. And you make decisions the same way Arnold did. By defining the goal, by evaluating the move against that goal, by committing without needing permission from your nervous system, and then executing immediately. Not next week, not when you feel ready, not after you've thought about it more. Now, because decisiveness is a muscle, and like every muscle, it atrophies if you don't use it. The more you delay decisions, the harder decisions become. The more you negotiate with yourself, the weaker your ability to commit. The more you wait for feelings to align, the more you teach yourself that feelings are in charge. Arnold built the opposite muscle. The muscle of deciding fast and acting faster. The muscle of committing without certainty. The muscle of moving forward despite discomfort. And over time, that muscle made him nearly unstoppable. Because while other people were stuck in their heads, Arnold was already 10 steps down the road. Testing, learning, adjusting, moving. That's the advantage. Not perfection, momentum. Not certainty, speed. Not comfort, commitment. And it's available to you right now. Not by changing your feelings, by changing your relationship to them. Stop asking, how do I feel about this? Start asking, does this move me toward my goal? And whatever the answer is, act on it. Within 24 hours. Not 24 days, not 24 weeks. 24 hours. Make the call, send the email, start the project, have the conversation. Whatever decision you've been sitting on, make it. And then deal with what comes next. Because what comes next is always easier than staying stuck. Stuck feels safe, but it's not. Stuck is just slow failure, slow erosion of self-trust, slow confirmation that you're not actually in control of your life. Your emotions are. And that's a terrible way to live. Arnold refused to live that way. He felt the fear, acknowledged the doubt, registered the discomfort. And then he decided anyway. Based on strategy, based on vision, based on alignment with goals. Never based on mood. Because mood changes, vision doesn't. And if you're building a life on vision, you can't let mood have veto power. You have to decide from a place that's deeper than feelings. From principles, from commitment, from the person you're becoming. And that person, they don't wait for permission from their emotions. They decide, they act, they adjust. And they keep moving. No matter how it feels. That's the standard Arnold lived by for 60 years. Same framework, same question, same refusal to let temporary discomfort override long-term direction. And it built a life most people think requires magic. It doesn't require magic, it requires decisiveness. The willingness to make calls without certainty, to commit without comfort, to act without approval from your nervous system. That's the work. And it starts with one decision. The decision you've been avoiding, the one you've been overthinking, the one you keep checking in with your feelings about. Arnold would tell you to stop checking. Evaluate it against your goal, make the call, act on it. Today. Not when it feels right, not when you're sure, not when the fear subsides. Today. Because emotion is noise, action is signal. And the signal you send yourself with every decisive action is this. I'm in control, I'm committed, I'm moving forward. Regardless of how I feel about it. That signal compounds. And over time, it builds a life that doesn't wait for permission. It just moves. Chapter 7. Your pain tolerance determines your ceiling. Embrace what breaks others. There's a moment in every hard thing where your body sends a signal. Stop, this hurts, you've done enough. Most people listen to that signal. They back off. They ease up. They tell themselves they're being smart, listening to their body, practicing self-care. Arnold Schwarzenegger heard that same signal. And he pushed through it. Not sometimes, every single time. Because he understood something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Pain is not the problem. Pain is the gatekeeper. And whatever level you're trying to reach, there's a specific amount of discomfort standing between you and it. You either pay that price, or you stay exactly where you are. Arnold paid it deliberately, repeatedly, for decades. Not because he enjoyed pain, because he understood it was information. Information about proximity to growth. When his muscles started burning during a set, most people would stop. Arnold would add more reps. When his body said enough, Arnold would ask, is it really? And 9 times out of 10, the answer was no. Because here's what Arnold discovered early and proved over and over. The limit you think you have, it's not real. It's psychological. It's your brain trying to protect you from discomfort. It's a safety mechanism designed to keep you in familiar territory. And if you listen to it, you'll never leave that territory. Arnold stopped listening. 1960s. Arnold's training in Austria, squats, heavy weight. His legs are shaking, muscles screaming, every instinct telling him to rack the bar. He does one more rep, then another, until he literally can't stand, until his legs give out, until failure is physical, not mental. That became the standard. Not until it hurts, until it's physically impossible to continue. Because the space between this hurts and I physically cannot, that's where growth lives. Most people never explore that space. They feel discomfort and assume they've hit their limit. Arnold felt discomfort and knew he was just getting started. He trained to failure as standard practice, not occasionally, not when he felt motivated. every set, every workout, every single day. Bicep curls until his arms wouldn't lift, calf raises until his legs trembled, posing practice until his entire body cramped. And he didn't treat that pain as a problem to solve. He treated it as confirmation he was in the right zone. Because pain is how your body tells you it's changing, adapting, growing. Without pain, there's no signal that anything's different from yesterday. With pain, you know you're in new territory. And new territory is the only place transformation happens. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you pushed past the point where your body told you to stop? Not ignored an injury, not did something reckless, but pushed past the psychological limit that kicks in long before your physical limit. The voice that says this is too hard, this is too much, you've done enough for today. When was the last time you ignored that voice and kept going anyway? If the answer is, I can't remember, you're not growing. You're maintaining, you're managing, you're staying exactly where you are. Because growth requires pain, always has, always will. And the amount of pain you're willing to metabolize, that determines your ceiling. Arnold had no ceiling because he had no limit to how much discomfort he'd accept. Filming Conan the Barbarian, 1981, Spain, winter, freezing conditions. Arnold's doing scenes in minimal clothing, swinging real swords for hours, climbing mountains, fighting choreography that's physically brutal. For months, most actors would have complained, demanded better conditions, taken days off to recover. Arnold showed up every day in the freezing cold doing the work. Not because conditions were good, because the discomfort was the point. The harder it was, the better the result would be. The more it hurt, the more real it would feel on screen. He didn't avoid the pain, he used it. That's the shift most people never make. They treat discomfort as something to minimize, to avoid, to recover from. Arnold treated it as fuel. The harder the conditions, the stronger he'd become. The more it hurt, the more proof he had that he was doing something most people wouldn't. And that created a competitive advantage no one could match. Because while other bodybuilders were resting between sets, Arnold was doing more. While other actors were negotiating for comfortable conditions, Arnold was embracing brutal ones. While other people were choosing the easier path, Arnold was deliberately choosing the harder one. Not because he was superhuman, because he'd normalized discomfort. He'd made pain so routine, so expected, so integrated into his daily life, that it stopped being a barrier. It became the baseline. And once pain is your baseline, everything else becomes possible. Because the things that break other people, they don't break you. The workouts that feel impossible to them feel normal to you. The challenges that make them quit make you sharpen. Arnold built that tolerance intentionally. Every time he pushed past the psychological limit, he proved to himself it wasn't real. Every time he held a pose until his muscles screamed, he expanded his capacity. Every time he chose the harder workout, the longer session, the more brutal conditions, he raised the floor of what he considered acceptable. And over time, his floor became higher than most people's ceiling. That's not genetics, that's not talent, that's not luck. That's pain tolerance built deliberately over years. Through thousands of decisions to keep going when everything said stop. Think about your life right now. Where have you been choosing comfort over growth? Where have you been stopping at the first sign of discomfort instead of pushing through it? Where have you been telling yourself you're being smart, being balanced, being reasonable, when really you're just avoiding pain? Because here's the uncomfortable truth Arnold lived by. Most of what you call self-care is just comfort-seeking in disguise. Rest is necessary, recovery is real, taking care of your body matters. But most people aren't taking strategic rest. They're just avoiding anything that hurts. They're choosing the easier workout, the lighter weight, the shorter session. They're backing off the moment it gets uncomfortable, stopping the moment it feels hard. And they're calling it wisdom. Arnold called it weakness. Not because rest is wrong, because most people aren't resting, they're hiding. Hiding from the discomfort that signals growth, hiding from the pain that creates change, hiding from the work that builds the person they claim they want to become. And you can't hide and transform at the same time. You have to pick. Arnold picked transformation every single day. Even when it hurt, especially when it hurt. Arnold's preparing for his 6th Mr. Olympia. He's already the most dominant bodybuilder alive. He could ease up, maintain, protect what he's built. Instead, he's training harder than ever, longer sessions, heavier weights, more volume. People ask him why. You've already won. You've already proved yourself. His answer, I'm not trying to prove myself to them. I'm trying to see how far I can go. That's the difference. Most people are trying to reach a level and stay there, comfortable, safe, protected. Arnold was trying to see what would break him. And every time he found a limit, he pushed past it. Not because he enjoyed suffering, because he understood something crucial. Your limits are negotiable. The ceiling you think you have, it's not fixed. It's just the highest level of discomfort you've been willing to accept so far. Raise your tolerance, and the ceiling raises with it. Lower your tolerance, and the ceiling drops. Arnold kept raising his, continuously, relentlessly. And the ceiling kept rising, from bodybuilding to Hollywood to politics. Every domain, every level, same principle. Find the pain threshold, push past it, make that the new normal, repeat. That's how you build a life that looks impossible to everyone else. Not by being special, by being willing to hurt more than they are. And yeah, that's uncomfortable to hear. Because most people want to believe there's a shortcut, a smarter way, a path that doesn't require suffering. There isn't. Every level has a pain requirement. Every breakthrough has a discomfort toll. You can pay it, or you can stay where you are. Those are the options. Arnold paid it in full up front for 60 years. And he didn't just pay it once, he kept paying it. Because the pain that got you to this level won't get you to the next one. You have to find new discomfort, new challenges, new ways to push past what feels manageable. Arnold understood this instinctively. After dominating bodybuilding, he didn't just maintain. He found new pain in acting, learning English, memorizing lines, enduring rejection. After conquering Hollywood, he didn't coast. He found new discomfort in politics, public scrutiny, policy learning, campaign pressure. Every level required new pain, and he sought it out. Because seeking discomfort became his competitive advantage. While other people were optimizing for comfort, Arnold was optimizing for growth. And growth always lives on the other side of pain. Always. So here's what you need to do. Stop avoiding discomfort. Stop backing off when it gets hard. Stop treating pain as a signal to quit. Start treating it as information. When something hurts, ask, is this injury, or is this just hard? If it's injury, stop, obviously. If it's just hard, keep going. Push past the psychological limit. Do 5 more reps. Hold the position longer. Stay in the uncomfortable conversation. And notice what happens. Notice that you don't break. Notice that the pain doesn't kill you. Notice that you're stronger on the other side. That's how you build tolerance. Not by thinking about it, by doing it. One uncomfortable decision at a time. One push past the limit at a time. One choice to keep going when everything says stop. Arnold built his entire life that way. Not in big heroic moments, in small daily decisions to choose hard over easy. to add weight instead of removing it, to do more instead of less, to stay instead of quit. Thousands of times, for decades, until discomfort became his default, until pain became his compass, until the things that broke other people just made him stronger. That's available to you right now. Not by becoming Arnold, by adopting the framework, by asking yourself every day, where am I choosing comfort when I should be choosing growth? And then making it harder, deliberately. Not because it'll feel good, because it'll build the person you're trying to become. And that person, they don't negotiate with discomfort. They don't back off when it hurts. They don't stop at the first sign of difficulty. They push through, they stay in, they keep going. Until the pain that used to break them becomes the baseline they operate from. That's the standard Arnold lived by. And it's the only standard that builds anything worth having. Not comfort, not ease, not balance. Pain tolerance. The willingness to hurt, to stay in discomfort, to push past limits most people accept as final. That's what separates the people who transform from the people who talk about transforming. Arnold transformed over and over by refusing to let pain be the stop sign. Your turn. Find the thing you've been avoiding because it's uncomfortable, the workout that's too hard, the project that's too challenging, the conversation that's too difficult. And do it this week. Not because it'll be easy, because it'll expand your ceiling. And your ceiling, it's not fixed. It's just the highest level of pain you've been willing to accept. Raise your tolerance and watch everything else rise with it. That's the work. And it starts with one decision to stay when everything says quit. Chapter 8. Reinvent when they say you're done, from Conan to governor against all logic. Arnold Schwarzenegger is 56 years old. He's made millions as the biggest action star on the planet. He's got a family, a legacy, a comfortable life most people would kill for. And he announces he's running for governor of California. Everyone thought he'd lost his mind. No political experience, foreign-born, an actor trying to run the fifth largest economy in the world. The media mocked him. Political insiders dismissed him. Experts said it was career suicide. Arnold won because he understood something most people never figure out. The version of yourself you're protecting is already obsolete. And staying there, staying in mastery, staying comfortable, staying where you're already good, that's not safety. That's slow death. See, most people reach a certain level and then spend the rest of their lives defending it. They get good at something, build a reputation, establish credibility, and then they stop growing. Not because they can't, because they're afraid of losing what they've built. Afraid of looking incompetent, afraid of starting over, afraid of being a beginner again. So they optimize, they refine, they protect. And they call it wisdom. Arnold called it stagnation. Because here's what he understood at a bone-deep level. Mastery in one domain doesn't prepare you for the next. It makes you fragile. It makes you attached to being good, to being respected, to being the expert. And that attachment, it's a cage. A comfortable cage, but a cage nonetheless. Arnold refused to stay in it. Arnold's at the absolute peak of bodybuilding. 7 Mr. Olympia titles, undefeated, the greatest ever. He could have stayed, kept competing, kept winning, kept being the king of his domain. Instead, he walks away. Completely, no looking back, no victory tour. He's done with bodybuilding, and he's moving to Hollywood, where he's nobody, where his accent is a liability, where his body is too big, where his last name is unpronounceable, where he has to start from zero. Most people would never make that trade. Give up mastery for incompetence. Give up respect for ridicule. Give up being the best at something for being a beginner at something else. Why would anyone do that? Because Arnold wasn't trying to preserve who he was. He was trying to discover who he could become. And that discovery only happens at the edge, where you're uncomfortable, where you don't know what you're doing yet, where you're willing to look stupid in public. Arnold looked stupid plenty of times. His early movie roles, brutal. Hercules in New York, they had to dub his voice because his accent was so thick. Humiliating for someone who'd been the most dominant athlete in his sport. But Arnold didn't retreat, didn't go back to bodybuilding where he was safe. He stayed in the discomfort, took more roles, worked with dialect coaches for hours every day, failed publicly, learned, improved. For years, until he wasn't a beginner anymore. Until he was Terminator, until he was the biggest action star in the world. And then he did it again. Late 1990s, Arnold's established, box office king, respected actor, comfortable. He could have stayed there, made sequels forever, collected paychecks, retired rich and famous. Instead, he starts thinking about politics. Everyone around him says it's insane. You're an entertainer. You have no experience. The press will destroy you. Arnold doesn't care. Because staying in Hollywood, staying where he's already mastered the game, feels like death. So he starts over again. At 56 years old. Most people at 56 are thinking about winding down, protecting what they've built, avoiding risk. Arnold's entering a completely new arena, where he'll be the least experienced person in the room, where experts will question his every move, where failure is public and permanent. And he does it anyway. Not because he's reckless, because he's understood something most people refuse to accept. The best version of you doesn't exist yet. It's not in your past, not in what you've already accomplished, not in the domain you've already mastered. It's ahead, in the territory you haven't entered, in the skills you haven't built, in the person you haven't become. And getting there requires abandoning who you are for who you could be. That's the trade. And most people won't make it. Because abandoning mastery feels like losing. Becoming a beginner again feels like regression. It's not. It's the only way to keep growing. Arnold proved this 3 times. Bodybuilding to Hollywood, Hollywood to politics, each time starting from scratch, each time accepting public incompetence, each time betting that growth matters more than comfort. So let me ask you something. What version of yourself are you protecting right now? What identity have you built that you're afraid to outgrow? What domain have you mastered that's become a prison? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're not regularly putting yourself in situations where you're the least experienced person, you're not growing. You're just optimizing a life you've outgrown. Refining skills that don't challenge you anymore. Building on a foundation that's already complete. And that optimization, it feels productive, it feels smart, it feels like progress. It's not. It's maintenance disguised as growth. Arnold refused to maintain. Every time he reached the top of one mountain, he looked for a different one. Not because the first mountain wasn't valuable, because staying there meant stopping. And stopping was unacceptable. Think about his trajectory for a second. He could have been remembered as the greatest bodybuilder ever, period. That would have been enough for most people. That would have been a complete life. But Arnold saw that as just the first chapter. He could have been remembered as one of the biggest action stars of the 80s and 90s. Again, that would have been more than most people accomplish in 10 lifetimes. Arnold saw it as Chapter 2. Governor of California, Chapter 3. Each one required complete reinvention. Each one required abandoning certainty for uncertainty. Each one required being willing to fail spectacularly in public. And he did fail, multiple times in each domain. Movies that bombed, political decisions that backfired, public criticism that would have ended most careers. Arnold just kept moving. Because he wasn't protecting a legacy, he was building range. And range requires failure. Range requires incompetence. Range requires being bad at things before you're good at them. Most people aren't willing to be bad at anything. They'd rather stay good at one thing forever than be temporarily bad at something new. Arnold was willing to be bad, publicly, for as long as it took. And that willingness is what built a life nobody thought was possible. Bodybuilder becomes actor, ridiculous. Actor becomes governor, absurd. And yet, because Arnold operated from a principle most people never adopt, your current ceiling is just your current tolerance for uncertainty. Raise your tolerance and the ceiling disappears. Lower your tolerance and you're trapped. Arnold kept raising his. Every reinvention increased his capacity for discomfort. Every new domain expanded his range. Every fresh start proved that mastery in one area doesn't define your potential in another. And here's what's available to you right now. The same choice Arnold faced every time he pivoted. Stay where you're comfortable, or start over in pursuit of growth. Most people choose comfort. They've worked too hard to get where they are. They've invested too much. They can't afford to look incompetent now. So they stay and optimize and refine. And 10 years later, they're exactly the same. Just older, just more entrenched, just more afraid of change. Arnold chose differently. He chose discomfort over comfort, expansion over protection, possibility over certainty. And he made that choice in his 20s, and his 30s, and his 40s, and his 50s. Same choice, different stakes, same refusal to let mastery become a cage. So what about you? What's the domain you've been avoiding because you'd have to start as a beginner? What's the skill you've been interested in but haven't pursued because you're already established somewhere else? What's the identity you've been curious about but afraid to try on because it doesn't match who you are now? Arnold would tell you to try it this month. Not perfectly, not after you're ready, not after you've figured it all out. Just start clumsily, publicly, with full awareness that you're going to be bad at it for a while. And that being bad is the entire point. Because being bad means you're in new territory. Being incompetent means you're growing. Being uncertain means you're not trapped. Arnold was uncertain every time he pivoted. Moving to Hollywood, no guarantee it would work. Running for governor, no proof he'd win. But uncertainty didn't stop him. It confirmed he was on the right path. Because certainty is just another word for same as yesterday. And same as yesterday builds nothing. Arnold understood this at 20, at 30, at 56. Your age doesn't matter. Your experience doesn't matter. Your current success doesn't matter. What matters is your willingness to abandon it in pursuit of what comes next. That's the real test. Not can you master something. Most people can with enough time. Can you walk away from mastery to become a beginner again? Most people can't. Arnold could, repeatedly. And that ability, that willingness to start over, to look foolish, to risk everything you've built, that's what separated him from everyone else. Not talent, not luck, not even work ethic. The refusal to let past success dictate future possibility. Because past success is a terrible compass. It points you toward more of what worked before, toward safety, toward optimization. Arnold didn't follow that compass. He followed discomfort. He followed curiosity. He followed the question, what else am I capable of? And every time he followed that question, he became someone new. Someone he couldn't have predicted. Someone he couldn't have planned. Someone who only existed because he was willing to destroy who he was. That's reinvention. Not crisis, not failure, not regression. Maintenance. Maintenance for people who refuse to plateau, who refuse to peak, who refuse to let good enough be the ceiling. Arnold never plateaued because he never stayed anywhere long enough to. He peaked and pivoted, peaked and pivoted, peaked and pivoted for 60 years. And every pivot made him more, not less. More capable, more resilient, more proof that identity is flexible. That who you are now doesn't have to be who you are next year. That starting over isn't losing ground, it's gaining territory. Your turn. Stop defending who you are. Start discovering who you could be. Stop optimizing the life you have. Start building the life you haven't imagined yet. Stop protecting mastery. Start pursuing incompetence. Because the best version of you, it's not here yet. It's in the domain you're avoiding, the challenge you're delaying, the identity you're afraid to try. And it's waiting. Not for you to feel ready, not for you to have it all figured out. For you to take the first clumsy step. The way Arnold did, at 20, at 30, at 56. Same willingness, same refusal to let current identity limit future possibility. Same decision to start over when staying put was easier. That's the work. And it starts with one question. What would I attempt if I wasn't afraid of being a beginner again? Answer that and do it. Not someday, this month. Because staying the same is the real risk. And the clock is running. Chapter 9. Discipline is freedom in disguise, the daily non-negotiables that built empires. There's a version of freedom most people chase their entire lives. No schedule, no obligations, no one telling them what to do. Just pure choice, every morning, every decision, every moment. They think that's what Arnold Schwarzenegger had when he made it. They're wrong. Arnold had the opposite. At the peak of his career, 7 Mr. Olympia titles, the biggest action star on the planet, governor of California. His mornings looked almost identical to when he was an unknown 20-year-old in a freezing Austrian gym. 5:30 a.m., awake. 6:00 a.m., training 2 hours minimum. Same breakfast, same routine, same non-negotiable standards. For 60 years, people would ask him, "Don't you want freedom? Don't you want flexibility?" And Arnold would tell them something they didn't want to hear. Discipline is freedom. Not discipline instead of freedom, discipline as freedom. Because the tighter your daily structure, the wider your range of motion becomes. Most people have this backwards. They keep everything loose, flexible, optional. They'll work out when they feel like it, eat healthy when it's convenient, start the important project when inspiration hits. And they call that freedom. Arnold called it chaos. Because here's what happens when nothing is mandatory. You spend your entire day deciding, redeciding, negotiating with yourself. Should I train this morning or tonight? Should I skip today and go twice as hard tomorrow? Should I start now or after I check my phone? Every one of those micro decisions costs energy. Mental energy, emotional bandwidth, willpower. And by the time you get to the thing that actually matters, the hard conversation, the creative work, the strategic thinking, you've got nothing left. You've already spent your decision-making budget on whether to hit snooze. Arnold figured this out at 18. He was training 6 days a week, 2 sessions a day in Graz, Austria. Most of his friends thought he was insane, too rigid, too extreme. But Arnold noticed something. The days he had to decide whether to train, those were the days he was most likely to skip. The day's training was just what happened at 6 a.m. He never missed. So he stopped deciding. He built a routine that ran like machinery, automatic, mechanical. Not because it was easy, because it removed the opportunity to negotiate. Think about your own morning. How many times do you redecide the same things? Whether to get up when the alarm goes off, whether to check your phone first, whether today's the day you finally start that morning routine you keep planning. Every single one of those is a battle. A battle you're fighting fresh every morning, with yesterday's discipline already depleted. Arnold fought that battle once, when he built the routine. After that, execution, just execution. The alarm went off, he got up. Not because he felt rested, not because he was motivated. Because 6 a.m. meant training. That's what 6 a.m. was for. No internal debate, no weighing options, no checking how he felt about it. He just moved. And that movement, that refusal to negotiate with himself, that's what created everything else. 1970s, Arnold's dominating bodybuilding while building his real estate empire. His schedule would break most people. 6 a.m. training, 2 hours. 9 a.m. construction work or business meetings. 1 p.m. second training session, another 2 hours. 3:30 p.m. acting classes, English lessons. 4 hours minimum working on that accent everyone said would end his career. 8 p.m. posing practice, every angle, every transition. 11 p.m. sleep. Same thing every day. No exceptions for parties, no exceptions for being tired, no exceptions for anything. His friends told him he needed balance, he needed to relax, he needed to live a little. Arnold didn't want balance. He wanted results. And results don't come from flexibility. They come from the things you do, whether you feel like it or not. Here's what nobody tells you about discipline. It's not about restriction. It's about removing decisions. When Arnold sat down to breakfast, he didn't decide what to eat. Same meal. Every day, eggs, steak, oatmeal, measured, timed. When 6 a.m. hit, he didn't decide whether to train. Training was what happened at 6 a.m. When afternoon came, he didn't decide whether to study English. 4 hours, scheduled, non-negotiable. By deciding once, years ago, he freed up massive amounts of mental energy. Energy that other people were burning on whether to go to the gym. Energy Arnold was spending on business deals, career strategy, the moves that actually mattered. That's the trade most people never make. They keep the small decisions flexible and wonder why they never have energy for the big ones. Arnold locked down the small decisions completely, which created enormous capacity for everything else. You can feel the resistance to this, can't you? The part of you that wants freedom, that wants options, that doesn't want to be locked into some rigid routine. That's the part that's keeping you exactly where you are. Because that flexibility, it's not serving you. It's just giving you permission to skip, permission to delay, permission to choose comfort over growth, and call it balance. Arnold understood something most people refuse to accept. Freedom without structure is just drift. You're not free, you're just reacting to how you feel, to what's easy, to whatever has the least resistance in the moment. Real freedom, the kind that lets you take massive risks, make bold moves, reinvent yourself at 56, that requires a foundation. A foundation so solid, so non-negotiable, so automated, that you never have to think about it. Arnold built that foundation with daily disciplines that never changed. And that unchanging base is what let him change everything else. Mid-1980s, Arnold's the biggest action star in the world. He could hire trainers, meal prep services, delegate everything. He doesn't. Still waking up at 5:30, still training himself, still following the same basic structure he built 20 years earlier. Because the structure isn't about the results anymore. It's about identity. Arnold isn't someone who works out because he needs to stay in shape. He's someone who trains at 6 a.m., period. That's who he is. And when discipline becomes identity, you stop fighting yourself. You're not trying to be disciplined, you just are. Here's what happens when you build real non-negotiables. First week, it feels restrictive, like you're giving up freedom. You are deliberately. Because that freedom wasn't helping you, it was just creating decision fatigue. After a month, it starts to feel normal. You're not fighting yourself every morning. The routine runs without thought. After 6 months, it's moved from behavior to identity. You're not someone trying to work out consistently. You're someone who works out at 6 a.m. Not trying to eat healthy, you eat the same clean breakfast, obviously. Not trying to build discipline, you are disciplined. And that shift from doing to being, that's when everything changes. Because now you're not spending energy maintaining discipline. You're spending energy building on top of it. Arnold reached that point in his early 20s. By then, training wasn't something he motivated himself to do. It was just what happened, at 6 a.m., automatic. His diet wasn't something he thought about, just what he ate, measured, consistent. His English practice wasn't something he had to convince himself to show up for. Just the afternoon block, non-negotiable. And because those things ran automatically, he had capacity for everything else. For studying business, for networking, for thinking strategically about career moves that made no sense to anyone else. For saying yes to Terminator when every agent told him it would end his career. For running for governor when the entire political establishment laughed. He could take those risks because the foundation was unshakable. The base was locked in, bulletproof. So everything on top of it, he could afford to be bold. Most people do the opposite. They keep the foundation flexible and then wonder why they can't take risks, why they can't make the bold move, why they can't pivot careers, why they can't bet on themselves. Because there's no base to launch from. Everything's negotiable, everything's optional, everything depends on how they feel that day. That's not freedom, that's fragility. Arnold built the opposite. Rigid discipline at the base, which created wild freedom at the top. The discipline to train every morning created the freedom to pursue acting with no guarantees. The discipline to study English 4 hours a day created the freedom to demand lead roles. The discipline to keep his routines even while filming created the freedom to take on political office at 56. None of those moves would have been possible without the foundation. So let me ask you something. What are your non-negotiables? Not your goals, not what you do most of the time. What are the things you do every single day, no matter what, without deciding? If you're being honest, the answer is probably nothing. Or maybe one thing, maybe two. Arnold had a dozen. Wake time, training, meals, study sessions, practice, reading, sleep schedule. All of it locked in. Not because he loved routine, because routine removed the need for motivation. He didn't have to feel like training. It was already decided. He didn't have to be inspired. The calendar didn't care about inspiration. He just executed every day, whether he felt like it or not. And over decades, that consistency compounded into a life most people call impossible. Here's what you're avoiding by keeping everything flexible. You're avoiding the discomfort of commitment, of saying this is who I am now, instead of this is what I'm trying to do, of locking yourself into a standard you'll have to meet even on days you don't want to. That discomfort is exactly why most people never build anything significant. Because significant things require consistency over time. And consistency requires removing the option to skip. Arnold removed that option. He built a life where skipping wasn't possible because the routine wasn't optional. It was just what happened. 6 a.m. training. every day for 60 years. Same decision, made once, executed forever. Think about what would change if you operated that way. If you decided once, right now, what your non-negotiables were. 3 things, just 3. The things you do every single day, no matter what, without redeciding. Maybe it's training at 6 a.m. Maybe it's writing for an hour before you check your phone. Maybe it's reading for 30 minutes before bed. Doesn't matter what they are. What matters is that you decide once and then never negotiate again. No, I'll make up for it tomorrow. No, just this once, no exceptions. Because every exception teaches your brain that the rule is optional. And optional rules aren't rules, they're suggestions. Arnold didn't live on suggestions. He lived on standards. Standards he set once and met forever. That's what built everything. Not the big heroic moments, the small daily disciplines nobody saw. The 6 a.m. training sessions when he was tired. The English lessons when he'd rather be socializing. The clean meals when everyone else was eating whatever. Thousands of them, tens of thousands. Until discipline wasn't something he practiced. It was something he was. So here's what someone operating like Arnold would do. They'd finish this chapter, and before tomorrow morning, they'd define 3 non-negotiables. 3 things that happen every day, same time, same standard, no exceptions. Not 5, not 10, 3. Because 3 you can actually maintain. 3 you can turn into identity. And then they'd start. Tomorrow morning. Not Monday, not next week, not when they feel ready. Tomorrow, 6 a.m. or whatever time they chose. And they'd execute, whether they felt like it or not. And the next day, they'd do it again. And 90 days from now, those 3 things wouldn't be disciplines anymore. They'd be who they are. And everything else they want to build would have a foundation to launch from. Arnold understood what most people spend their whole lives refusing to accept. You don't get freedom by keeping your options open. You get freedom by making certain things non-negotiable. By deciding once what matters, and then protecting that decision from your future self. The self who's tired, who doesn't feel like it, who wants to skip just this once. That self doesn't get a vote, because you already decided. And the decision stands. That's discipline. Not restriction, liberation. Not limitation, foundation. Not sacrifice, strategy. The tighter your base, the bolder you can be everywhere else. Arnold proved that for 60 years. Same morning routine, same standards, same refusal to negotiate. Which created the freedom to reinvent himself 3 times. To take risks that made no sense. To bet everything on moves that terrified him. Because the foundation never moved. So everything on top of it could. Your turn. 3 things, non-negotiable, starting tomorrow. The alarm goes off, you get up. The time comes, you execute. No debate, no negotiation, no checking how you feel. Just movement. Day after day after day. Until it's not discipline anymore. Until it's just who you are. That's when everything else becomes possible. Not before, after. After you've built the base. After you've proven to yourself you can keep a promise. After discipline becomes identity. That's the work. And it starts tomorrow morning. With one decision. Made once. Executed forever. The way Arnold did. At 20, at 40, at 60. Same framework, same refusal to negotiate. Same understanding that freedom isn't found in keeping your options open. It's built by making certain things unavoidable. And once that foundation is set, once you've proven to yourself you're the kind of person who does what they say, Then comes the next question. The one Arnold asked himself after 7 Mr. Olympia titles. After conquering Hollywood. After everything everyone said was impossible. The question that separates people who peak from people who keep becoming. What if the ceiling you're protecting is keeping you from the next level? What if staying who you are is stopping you from who you could be? That's where the next chapter begins. Not in comfort. In the decision to abandon mastery for growth. To leave the mountain you've climbed and find a new one. But you can't even consider that question until the base is solid. Until discipline is identity. Until the foundation is unshakable. So build it. Starting tomorrow. 3 non-negotiables. Same time every day, no exceptions. The rest will follow. But it starts with that decision. And the discipline to keep it. Chapter 10. Leave a mark too big to ignore. Legacy starts with today's unreasonable standards. Arnold Schwarzenegger walked into Joe Weider's office at 20 years old and said something that should have gotten him laughed out of the room. I'll be Mr. Olympia in 3 years. Not I hope to compete someday, not I'm working toward it. 3 years as fact. He had no American training base, barely spoke English, had won Mr. Universe in London, but in the States, he was nobody. And he declared victory before he had any proof it was possible. That's not confidence. That's something else entirely. It's the refusal to aim for reasonable. Because reasonable goals create reasonable lives. And Arnold didn't come to America to be reasonable. Most people set goals they know they can hit. Lose 10 pounds, save a little money, get a small promotion. Safe targets, achievable targets, the kind that won't embarrass them if they fail. They call it being realistic. Arnold called it playing small. Because here's what happens when you aim for achievable. You achieve it, and then what? You're marginally better than you were, slightly improved, a little bit ahead. But you're not unforgettable. You're not the person people reference decades later. You're not the standard others measure themselves against. You're just incrementally better. And incremental is invisible. Arnold understood this at a cellular level. He didn't want to be one of the great bodybuilders of his era. He wanted to be the only one that mattered. 7 Mr. Olympia titles, not 3, not 4, 7. He didn't want to be in movies. He wanted to be the biggest action star on the planet. He didn't want to dabble in politics. He wanted to be governor of the 5th largest economy in the world. Every goal was excessive, unreasonable, the kind that makes people uncomfortable. That discomfort, that's the signal you're aiming high enough. Think about your own goals right now. The ones you've set for the next year, the next 5 years. Are they exciting or are they safe? Are they the kind that scare you when you say them out loud, or the kind that sound sensible? Because sensible goals create sensible lives. And sensible lives don't leave marks. They don't change industries. They don't redefine what's possible. They don't make people decades from now say your name. Arnold's goals made people laugh. An Austrian bodybuilder with an unpronounceable last name becoming a movie star. Delusional. That same guy becoming governor. Absurd. People didn't just doubt him, they mocked him. His accent was wrong. His body was too big. His background was too foreign. His ambitions were too grand. Arnold heard all of it. And he used it as confirmation he was aiming at the right level. Because if everyone agrees your goal is achievable, you're aiming too low. Arnold's already won Mr. Olympia 6 times. He's retired from competitive bodybuilding. Most people would have stopped there. 6 titles, undefeated, the greatest ever. That would have been enough. Arnold came back for a 7th. Not because he needed it, because 7 sounded impossible. 6 was great, 7 was unmatched. And unmatched is what legacy requires. He trained for months in secret, showed up at the 1980 Olympia, took the title. People were furious, said he shouldn't have been competing, said the judging was political. Arnold didn't care, because he wasn't trying to be fair. He was trying to be unforgettable. And unforgettable requires going further than anyone thinks is necessary. Here's the uncomfortable truth about legacy. It's not built by people who color inside the lines. It's built by people who look at the lines and draw new ones. Arnold didn't accept the standard, he set a new one. In bodybuilding, the standard was maybe 3, maybe 4 Olympia titles if you were exceptional. Arnold made 7 the standard, for himself. In Hollywood, the standard for bodybuilders was maybe some B-movies, some action roles, nothing serious. Arnold became Terminator, became one of the highest-paid actors on the planet. In politics, the standard for actors was maybe some endorsements, some fundraisers, stay on the sidelines. Arnold became governor. Every domain, same pattern. Look at what's considered excellent and demand more from yourself. Not a little more, exponentially more. The kind of more that makes people question whether you've lost your mind. You can feel the resistance to this, can't you? The part of you that wants to be realistic, that wants to set achievable goals, that doesn't want to look foolish aiming for something you might not hit. That's the part that's keeping you forgettable. Because legacy isn't built on realistic. It's built on unreasonable. On standards so high they make other people uncomfortable. On goals so ambitious they sound delusional when you first say them. Arnold's goals sounded delusional. Every single one of them. Until they didn't. Until they became history. Late 1960s, Arnold's telling people he'll be the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Not one of the greats, the greatest. People smile, nod, assume he'll learn humility eventually. He doesn't. He's training twice a day, 6 days a week, 2 to 3 hours per session. Other bodybuilders are training an hour a day, maybe 90 minutes. Arnold's doing 4, 5, sometimes 6 hours. People tell him he's overtraining, that he'll burn out, that more isn't always better. Arnold's operating from a different framework. More is better when everyone else is doing less. Excessive is the advantage when everyone else is being reasonable. Unreasonable is the path when reasonable leads to average. And average doesn't leave a mark. Think about your current standards. Not your goals, your standards. The daily level of effort you accept from yourself, the quality of work you're willing to put out, the amount of discomfort you're willing to tolerate. Those standards, they're showing you your ceiling. If you're okay with pretty good, your ceiling is pretty good. If you're okay with solid effort, your ceiling is solid effort. If you're okay with achievable goals, your ceiling is achievable. Arnold wasn't okay with any of that. His standard was excessive, always. In the gym, while everyone else stopped at muscle fatigue, Arnold stopped at muscle failure. In his career, while everyone else took the safe roles, Arnold took the ones that could end him. In his ambitions, while everyone else aimed for respectable, Arnold aimed for impossible. That's not personality, that's choice. The choice to hold yourself to a standard that makes other people uncomfortable. Arnold's been acting for a few years, small roles, building slowly. He gets offered Conan the Barbarian. Huge budget, massive risk, sword and sorcery film that could be a career-ending disaster if it flops. Every advisor tells him not to do it, too risky, not proven, could kill his momentum. Arnold takes it, because safe roles build safe careers. And safe careers are forgettable. The film is brutal to shoot, months in Spain, freezing conditions, physically punishing. Arnold shows up every day, does his own stunts, trains even harder to look the part. The movie's a hit, opens doors nobody thought existed for him. Not because he played it safe, because he bet everything on unreasonable. Here's what nobody tells you about aiming for legacy. It's lonely. The people around you won't understand. They'll tell you to be realistic, to take it slow, to not risk what you've already built. They mean well, but they're thinking incrementally. And incremental doesn't build legacy. Arnold lost friendships over his ambitions, had relationships end because he wouldn't dial it back, faced criticism from people who thought he was too much, too ambitious, too excessive. He stayed the course. Because the alternative, living small to make others comfortable, that felt like death. So he kept the unreasonable standards, kept the excessive goals, kept the targets that made people nervous. And every time he hit one, he set a new one that was even more unreasonable. That's the pattern. Not aim high, achieve it, relax. Aim high, achieve it, aim higher. Forever. Arnold's 56 years old, successful acting career, financially set, comfortable life. He announces he's running for governor of California. Everyone loses their minds. No political experience, foreign-born, an actor trying to run the fifth largest economy in the world. The media tears him apart. Political insiders dismiss him. Experts give him zero chance. Arnold runs anyway. And wins. Because he's been doing this his entire life. Declaring something impossible, then making it inevitable. Not through luck, through unreasonable standards. He outworked every career politician in that race, studied policy 16 hours a day, met with advisors nobody thought he'd have access to, campaigned like someone with nothing to lose. While his opponents were being strategic, Arnold was being excessive. And excessive beats strategic. The way it always does when the standards are high enough. So let me ask you something. What would you attempt if you weren't afraid of looking foolish? What goal would you set if failure didn't define you? What standard would you hold yourself to if you actually wanted to be remembered? Not by everyone, you don't need everyone, but by the people who matter, by history, by yourself when you look back at the end. What would that require? Because I'll tell you what it won't require. Reasonable goals, achievable targets, safe bets. Those build comfortable lives. They don't build legacy. Legacy requires the thing you're avoiding right now. The unreasonable standard, the excessive goal, the target that makes you uncomfortable when you say it out loud. Arnold set those targets his entire life. At 15, training 6 days a week in a freezing gym when his friends were at parties. At 20, declaring he'd be Mr. Olympia when he couldn't even speak the language. At 30, walking into Hollywood executives' offices and telling them he'd be the biggest star in the world with an accent nobody understood. At 56, running for governor when everyone said it was career suicide. Every stage, every level, same pattern. Look at what's considered excellent and demand more. Look at what's considered impossible and make that the target. Look at what makes everyone else uncomfortable and lean into it. That discomfort is the signal. Not that you're being unrealistic, that you're finally aiming high enough to matter. Here's what happens when you lower your standards to match everyone else's. First, it feels like relief, less pressure, less stress, less risk of failure. Then it feels normal. This is just how things are. This is a reasonable pace. This is sustainable. Then 5 years pass, and you're exactly where you were, maybe slightly better, but fundamentally the same. Same level, same impact, same trajectory. And somewhere deep down, you know you settled. You know you aimed lower than you were capable of. You know you played it safe when you could have played to win. And that knowing, That doesn't go away. Arnold avoided that regret by never lowering the standard. Even when it would have been easier, even when people told him he'd already done enough. He kept the bar unreasonable, and unreasonable became his legacy. So here's what someone operating like Arnold would do. They'd look at their current 12-month goal, the one they've been working toward, the one that feels challenging but achievable, and they'd rewrite it. Not to make it easier, to make it unreasonable, to make it the version that scares them, the version that sounds delusional when they say it out loud, the version that, if they hit it, would fundamentally change their trajectory. That's the goal worth chasing. Not the safe one, the excessive one. Not the achievable one, the impossible one. Not the one that makes sense, the one that makes people uncomfortable. Because comfortable goals create comfortable lives. And comfortable lives disappear. Arnold's goals didn't disappear. 7 Mr. Olympia titles, still the standard. Terminator, still referenced decades later. Governor of California, still the example everyone points to. Not because he aimed for good enough, because he aimed for unmatched. And then he backed it up with standards so excessive, so unreasonable, so relentless, that the goal had no choice but to become real. 4 to 6 hours of training daily, for years. 4 hours of English study daily, for years. 16-hour days while campaigning, for months. The goal might have sounded delusional. The work made it inevitable. That's the framework. Set the goal that sounds impossible, then hold yourself to standards that make it unavoidable. Not reasonable standards, excessive ones. Not balanced effort, obsessive effort. Not when you feel like it, every single day. Most people reverse this. They set reasonable goals, and then wonder why reasonable effort isn't getting them there. Arnold set unreasonable goals, and then did unreasonable work. The goal and the standard matched. And when they match, legacy stops being luck. It becomes math. You know what you need to do. You've known the entire time you've been listening to this. There's a goal you've been keeping small, safe, achievable. Because you're afraid of failing publicly, afraid of looking delusional, afraid of aiming for something and missing. That fear is keeping you forgettable. Arnold felt that same fear. Every time he declared something impossible, every time he aimed higher than anyone thought he should. The difference is, he didn't let the fear set the standard. He set the standard, and then figured out how to deal with the fear. Through work, through relentless, excessive, unreasonable work. The kind that makes other people uncomfortable. The kind that makes you question whether you're doing too much. The kind that decades later people point to and say, that's how it's done. So here's your choice. You can keep aiming for achievable, keep playing it safe, keep setting goals that won't embarrass you if you miss. And you'll achieve them, probably. And 5 years from now, you'll still be forgettable. Comfortable, secure, forgettable. Or you can do what Arnold did. Set the goal that scares you, the one that sounds delusional, the one that makes people nervous when you say it out loud. And then hold yourself to a standard so excessive, so unreasonable, so relentless, that everyone who doubted you has to watch it become real. That's legacy. Not the goal itself, the refusal to lower the standard. Not the declaration, the work that backs it up. Not the dream, the discipline that makes it inevitable. Arnold built that discipline at 15, at 20, at 30, at 56. Same framework, different targets, same refusal to settle. Same understanding that reasonable is the enemy of remarkable. That achievable is the enemy of unforgettable. That comfort is the enemy of legacy. He chose legacy every single time. Even when it was lonely, even when people laughed, even when the odds were impossible. He set the unreasonable standard and then lived up to it. For 60 years. That's not genetics, that's not luck. That's choice. Made once every single day. The choice to aim higher than anyone thinks is necessary. To work harder than anyone thinks is sustainable. To demand more from yourself than anyone else would demand. That's the price. And if you're not willing to pay it, that's fine. Most people aren't. Most people aim for comfortable, achieve comfortable, live comfortable, and disappear. But if you want legacy, if you want to be the person people reference decades from now, if you want to leave a mark too big to ignore, you already know what it requires. The goal that sounds delusional, the standard that feels excessive, the work that makes others uncomfortable. Starting now. Not Monday, not next month, not when you feel ready. Now. Because legacy isn't built by people who wait for permission. It's built by people who declare the impossible and then refuse to lower the standard until it becomes inevitable. The way Arnold did. 7 Mr. Olympia titles, biggest action star in the world, governor of California. Every goal was unreasonable. Every standard was excessive. Every outcome was legacy. Your turn. Set the unreasonable goal. Hold the excessive standard. Build the legacy. Or stay comfortable. Those are the options. Arnold chose legacy. What will you choose?